Hello and welcome to another episode of the Jonesing for Sports podcast. We've got a really fun one here today with special guest Rob Robbins, host of the Rob Robbins' Indefensible podcast. We're going to interview him about his past D1 basketball and baseball history, pick his brain on some fun stories from his past, talk about the Masters, NBA playoffs are here. We're going to dig into that a bit, and also dig into a little bit of the NIL Fiasco going on in Tennessee right now. So we're going to talk about all that and maybe a little bit more. So sit back and here we go.
If you just want to take those over from here on out, you're more than welcome to.
That's okay, great. Code. I love Cody doing it. So
no copyright infringement there.
Yeah, so far you have a much better record than I do at keeping us from getting copywritten.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to turn off the Tigers behind me just in case FanDuel has an issue with that playing behind me. We joked about copyright last week, and then I looked through our YouTube videos, and we actually did have one of them that was copyright stricken. So maybe we should learn our lesson for once.
To be fair,
which one got us there?
The one we talked about last week from Star Wars, the celebration music.
This is when Michigan won the Natty.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
To be fair, I did not know that we had received any copyright strikes when I went ahead and continued to play music that we don't own. But from now on, I will be a little bit more responsible about that. Unfortunately,
the good news about that song we played, Rob, for our intros, we bought that one, so
okay,
we shouldn't get
right.
copyright stricken on that. But for you guys watching, listening, who do not know Rob, and that actually goes for Cody and Brandon here as well. This is Rob Robbins. Rob and I got to know each other a little bit in Muncie, Indiana. Got at work together, and Rob's got just a really cool sports history, passionate about sports like we are. So we thought it'd be fun to bring him on, especially now that he's starting his own pod. We can shout that out a little bit because it's a fun listen. I've listened to most of your episodes out so far, and they're easy to digest, and I really like those. So, and it looks just like you look now with that background. So it's great.
Yeah, that is sharp.
That was a gift when I started my podcast from my mom. I've got several
awesome.
backgrounds. I haven't figured out how to change them yet. So sorry, Mom.
Shout out, Mom. So, Rob, I guess if you want to give us just a little bit of background on you, and then we'll kind of dig into some of the fun stuff about your sports history and talk Masters and all that fun stuff.
Sure. Thank you so much, guys, for having me on. I enjoy listening to your show, too, and gotten to know Travis over the years. But I'm an Indiana guy, born and raised in Indiana, and played all my sports through high school and college at Ball State University, basketball, and I say played baseball, but that's a loose term. I never actually saw the field except to do raking and tamping the mound. But I enjoy sports. I enjoy talking sports. This will be a little bit different for me. I got with all the Michigan guys on here. I'm a Notre Dame guy, so I apologize for that. But
I gave him the heads up before we started. I said Rob's a Notre Dame guy, so be easy on him today.
Well, it's okay if you can answer this question. Is there a rivalry between Michigan and Notre Dame?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Okay, good.
We're off to a good start.
Great start. All right, we're cool. So, Rob, you went to Delta High School, that's correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Travis tells me that you might have set a record or two there during your time.
I might have. You have to shoot a lot to score a lot. That's what my dad used to say. So I do hold the career scoring record at Delta to this day still. So I graduated in '99, so it's held up for almost 30 years now. But the previous record holder was a gentleman you may know, Matt Painter. Head coach at Purdue, went to Delta High School, graduated about 10 years before I did. And was fortunate enough to break his record, actually. So somebody will break it one of these days, but I don't mind still having it.
It's funny. I was told to shoot a lot too, and I did, but I got wildly different results than than what you did during your time at
I
Delta.
I did have a coach tell me one time that they were struggling, and I said, "Well, what's the deal?" And he said, "We've got a lot of shooters. We don't have a lot of makers." And I said, "There's a big difference."
Beating Matt Painter's record, did he give you a hard time or anything about that?
He didn't. When I was going through school, he actually was the coach at Eastern Illinois at the time. Maybe one of the assistants, but was recruiting me to go to Eastern Illinois. And then he left to take the job at Southern Illinois and recruited me a little bit there. Um, and then actually, one of the years that I played at Ball State, we played at Southern Illinois when they were winning NCAA tournament games. So they were really good. They put it on us pretty good. That was a fun bus ride home from Southern Illinois.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about Painter recruiting you. Can you walk us through a little bit of what your recruitment looked like and ultimately your decision to go to Ball State and what led to that?
Sure.
And all the NIL money you were offered and turned down to go to Ball State.
Right. The NIL money dried up real quick. That was zero. But no, my parents went to Ball State. It was kind of always where I wanted to go. I had several offers from actually Western Michigan was one of them. I had one from Evansville, a couple. Those were just basketball only, and I had a couple baseball only. And I really wanted to try to do both in school. And Ball State, was gracious enough to basically say, "Hey, listen, we'll have you on basketball scholarship, but you can be a preferred walk-on the baseball team, and you don't have to do the tryouts and all that stuff." So, when it came down to it, that was kind of really what I wanted to do, was try to do both, and Ball State, was able to make that happen for me. So it was, and being from Muncie didn't hurt. So I got to stay close to home and have my mom do my laundry and have my dad come rebound for me. So it was a nice little gig.
Rob being a preferred walk-on at Ball State, I was a preferred walk-on baseball at Grace College. So we're pretty much the
Nice.
same. We're
Nice. It is. It's. Hey, you probably played more than I did. So.
Oh no, I lasted 2.5 weeks, and I decided to play rugby instead.
Okay, I win.
You win by a mile.
By default.
It was really close, though.
It was.
What about at your time at Ball State, like specifically basketball, seeing how you played more? What about maybe your career highlight, like something that just sticks out as something you'll never forget?
Sure. Well, I would say the night that I had my career high in points, and that was at the University of Buffalo on Valentine's Day in front of a whopping crowd of about 76 people. There was about a foot and a half of snow on the ground. It was Valentine's Day. They had set up some tables at the end for like, bring your date to the game. Apparently nobody got the message that they were doing that. But I did have 21 points that night, so it is verified. But probably the most memorable at Ball State was my freshman year making the NCAA tournament. That was a lot of fun. I got a good view for that. I didn't get in the game as a freshman, but we were ahead of UCLA for quite a bit of the game, and they came back and beat us there towards the end. But then we got to go to Maui and play in the Maui Invitational. And the way they had that set up, which was kind of unique, because Ray McCallum, who was our coach my freshman year at Ball State, left after we went to the NCAA tournament. Houston gave him a big contract to coach at Houston, so he did the smart move and took the money and went to Houston. Well, they had it set up to where we were playing Kansas in the first round. They were ranked number 3, and Houston was playing UCLA. They were ranked number 4, and so the goal obviously was to get a Ball State Houston matchup in that losers bracket game, but we didn't really like that idea, so we took down Kansas in the first round in a low scoring game, 93-92. So that's the defensive battle. so that didn't work out. I think the best part of that whole thing was watching the Kansas fans changing their tee times in the hotel lobby that night after we beat them, because they were fully expecting to play an afternoon game and not a morning game. And then we beat UCLA by, I think, like 18 when they were ranked number 4.
Wow.
And then got to play number 1 Duke in the championship game, and we were ahead at halftime, but Mike Krzyzewski was doing a lot of whining, and I'd like to say that's why we lost, but they had Jason Williams and Carlos Boozer and Mike Dunleavy and those boys, and I don't know how Carlos Boozer fit through the door. He's the largest man I've ever seen. I got switched off on him one time, and people said, "Well, what'd you do?" I just hung on. He didn't score. I fouled him, and that was I consider that a win. But
Absolutely.
so that was a lot of fun. Then the next year we got to go to Alaska and play. Now I will say this: Hawaii in November versus Alaska in November. I would pass on that if you get that chance of Alaska in November. But that was kind of cool. So, to go up and play, in Alaska. So those are two, probably, the tournament, and then obviously the Maui thing was awesome.
You mentioned Jay Williams and Carlos Boozer and all those guys. Who maybe had the best game against you guys ever that you just remember, like, dang, that guy just kicked our butts? Or maybe just the best guy you remember playing against?
Well, the best, those guys were the best guys. The best game I ever saw was against Central Michigan my freshman year. David Weber, who was Chris Webber's little brother, hit us for 51. And I got in trouble at that game because I was a freshman. I think I shot some free throws at the end of the game when we needed some free throws, but I was on the bench, and I think Weber had 30 in the first half, and he hit a fadeaway 3 in the corner. Unbelievable shot. And I reached out my hand to give him a high five as he ran by, because what do you do? And we're watching film the next day.
Oh,
and I was praying that didn't catch it on the game tape. And we're watching film, and Coach Buckley pauses it, and I'm thinking he's going to yell at the defense for letting him get loose. No, we paused it right when my hand reaches out to give him a high five. Coach says, "What was that?" And I said, "I've never seen anybody get 30 and a half. So I don't know what you want me to do," but I was praying that it wasn't on the game tape, but it was.
I'll bet he was really understanding.
Yeah, I would like to say I didn't run for that, but that's not accurate. So David Weber, that was the best individual performance that I ever had seen in a game. I mean, for 51. Now, we won the game. We made Sports Center that night, and they were talking about how great Weber was. And then at the point, they were like, "The Ball State won in overtime, 78-74. It's like, okay, thanks, guys, for the pub. But David Weber earned every bit of it. So
you're probably lucky that wasn't on Sports Center today, because they'd love the bench interactions. They would have caught you high-fiving.
They would have caught me, and I'd have been on Sports Center. Yes, that not top 10 plays for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've got a question. I'm not sure if you have a very specific answer, but sure. I've always wondered, I think we've all wondered, what do you think the difference is between, like, let's just say 3 scrubs like Brandon, Cody, and Travis who play sports but are, let's say, physically limited, and a D1 athlete? Like, is it the skill? Is it the speed and the height? Is it what is the biggest difference between guys that could go, let's say, D3 versus a D1 athlete?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because one of our toughest games that I played in at Ball State was against Anderson University. And, they're a, Division III NAIA school, and they just did everything right. They were so fundamentally sound. We ended up pulling away at the end, but it was tight all the way through. and I think the biggest differences are at the Division I level. Now, this was not me because I'm 6'4" and could never dunk a basketball. So I'm going to put that out there on for everybody to hear on the internet. But that we just kind of wore them down.
Yeah.
And at the end, it was, as far as basketball players, they were every bit as good as we were. But athleticism, strength, they when they needed a stop, they couldn't quite get one. And that's really the biggest difference, I think, is just the athletic ability of some of these guys are absolute freaks, and can run and jump like nobody's business. And that's the main difference not that there's not really good players at the Division III or whatever level, but I always tell people, if you can play college athletics at all, you're a stud. So, there's just a little bit of difference between maybe just size and strength, and just physical God-given ability, I think, really.
Yeah, that's some optimistic thinking, lumping us into D3 there, Bryn. But but I will take it.
I love it.
D3 intramurals, maybe.
There we go.
Hey, I've seen some intramural games at Ball State that were pretty intense. So, hey,
all right, move us away from that conversation too. Then fine. You said you played some baseball too, Rob. What was your position, and how'd you like tamping in the mound?
Oh yeah, my position. I don't know if it says on my baseball card that they did for us, but it was try to see if the other pitcher was tipping pitches. That was my official position. But technically, I was a pitcher. But we had a loaded staff. We had Brian Bullington, who was the number one overall pick in the draft by the Pittsburgh Pirates. I wasn't as good as him, so he pitched more than I did. And then we had two other guys. We actually had a guy that ended up getting drafted in that, I don't know what they call it anymore. It's a transitional round between the first and second, where they give those compensatory picks. We had a 6'9" left-handed kid from Ohio, named Luke Haggerty. This is kind of cool. If you ever see the movie Moneyball, when they're going through trying to figure out who they're going to pick with the players and the salaries, Luke Haggerty's name comes up in there.
Oh, cool.
And
that is
he
neat.
actually when he was a freshman, Luke beat number 1 Notre Dame at Notre Dame 3-2.
Oh, dang.
Now, it was obviously an off night. They weren't throwing their, top pitchers because keeping him for conference. But we had him, who was a number 1 first round draft pick. So my opportunities on the mound were very limited. So I got really good at tamping down the mound, pulling the tarp out during rain delays, where we would try to get air underneath it, because you can't pull those things when they're off the ground. So you got to get air underneath it. And for us that didn't play, the goal was we would send somebody through the tarp to see if they could make it all the way through before the tarp closed on them. Poor Dustin didn't make it. I forget what game that was, but he was pretty dirty and nasty crawling out from underneath the tarp. Not quite fast enough to get through.
College baseball is so great. I love the highlights you see, like pitchers nowadays too. The energy they bring to the mound, they're just mean mugging, and even batters too, bat flipping, and there's just such a crazy energy to
interviews too.
Yeah,
I saw
the rain delays.
Somebody from TCU hit a home run. I don't know if it was last week or a couple weeks ago, into the TCU bullpen, and the 3 guys that were there that almost caught the ball started doing what was a well choreographed celebration dance in the bullpen in front of the left fielder. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I know probably there's some old head baseball fans who are like, nah, give me that true baseball, but some of that energy I really appreciate.
I like it.
Do you guys got any other questions you want to ask Rob about his illustrious sports career?
Oh boy.
I guess I'm just a little bit curious. You played more basketball than you did baseball. How do your love for those two sports compare to each other? Was it mainly because you were just talented enough basketball wise, or I guess did you love baseball as much? And where do those
Actually,
stand for you after college?
no, actually, I love baseball more.
Hmm.
Even then, um, it was because of my family played. You guys are Michigan guys. My uncle pitched for Detroit um,
No
back
kidding.
in the early '80s, um, and
Who was
so
that?
Bruce Robbins is his name. I think he had a 7-5 career record. Um, he was 21 or something years old. He was the youngest player in the major leagues in 1981, I think.
Hmm.
But played on those Tiger teams with like Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker and
Awesome.
Lance Parrish and Kirk
Wow.
Gibson. And
Hmm.
some of the stories that he's told me are not for this situation.
You know, if
Um,
you want to, it gives me an option to put an M rating on this when I upload it. So if you want to.
I'm not as worried about the M rating as I am the wrath of my Uncle Bruce. So, but he played, and my dad played in the Cardinals organization for St. Louis. Andy Van Slyke was his roommate, so it's kind of
Wow.
cool to,
Hmm.
and then their other brother, my Uncle Leroy, played for the Oakland A's organization. Ricky Henderson was his roommate, so he didn't
Wow.
get. And I know Ricky just passed away. I'm not going to poo-poo on his name, but my uncle was not a huge fan because Ricky was about Ricky and getting stolen bases, and
Hmm.
they'd be up like 14-2, and my uncle was batting behind him, and Ricky'd be stealing second and third, and he'd get lit up, and the pitcher'd be throwing at him, and he's like, "You need to keep your butt on the base so I don't get thrown at." So baseball's kind of in my blood, and I probably liked baseball more than basketball, really. So, but I did play a lot of basketball. That's for sure. Played against a lot of good guys. Some that played in the NBA, Boozer and Dunleavy Williams, Nick Collison, um, and Kirk Heinrich, and gosh, all those guys that played at IU, and well, the one guy that was probably the best player that I ever saw was, I don't know if you remember Kareem Rush, that played 1 year at Missouri. We played them in the Final Four of an AAU national tournament, and he had 46, I think. It got to the point where they said that they put me on him, and they're like, "You guard." I'm like, "This is a bad idea. Like, this, if you want him to get 60, I'll guard him." But I'm going to be yet less than useless on this guy. So it was really fun to get to play against a lot of those guys, and you see him playing in the NBA for such a long time.
Not about your career specifically, but as your fandom being a Notre Dame guy. First, what are your thoughts on the season coming up, like optimism wise? And second, this one might be a little tougher. Losing to Ohio State. First of all, you had 3 Notre Dame fans on this podcast that night.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Most I've ever cheered for Notre Dame in my life. From a Michigan perspective, when we lost to Georgia in the playoffs, when we lost to TCU in the playoffs, there was a feeling like we might never get that
Yeah.
national championship.
Yeah.
And so losing to Ohio State, is that creep in at all, or do you still think that they're going to smash through that ceiling?
Okay, so this may sound bad. I am a realistic Notre Dame fan. So I don't, in my opinion, Notre Dame is not a national title contender every year. That's just the way I think of them. Should they be in the playoffs with the way it's set up now? I think they should be in the playoffs most every year if they play well, and not lose to Northern Illinois. I know that was rough. But I do think with Marcus Freeman, I think he's built kind of a culture that they haven't had in a long time. I'm optimistic about this year. I know their first 6 games are like Boise State, and I know Boise State's not, but they're still a playoff team. At Arkansas, who beat Tennessee this past year. USC. I think they start the season with Texas A&M. No, they start at Miami, Florida. They've got Texas A&M. So they could realistically be 3-3, something like that after 6 games. I hope not. I think they're going in the right direction. So I think they could have. They should be in the playoffs. Is my goal. But I'm not unrealistic. If I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, we
Definitely.
appreciate that about like we're kind of in the same boat where we try to be realistic, and some of our listeners don't appreciate that as much because we can be a little poo-poo on
Yeah,
when Michigan's doing poorly. But you got to be realistic. So I agree with you there.
there'll be a leprechaun at my door later. I have to give my Notre Dame card back. So that's that. But I just think you have to be realistic. And I know nobody wants to hear this, but Notre Dame does have academic standards that a lot of schools don't have, and I don't know what the standards are at Alabama and Ohio State and Tennessee and Texas and all that, but it's probably not the same as it is at Notre Dame. And so you're probably going to miss out on some recruits that other schools are going to get, and that's okay. Like, I'm okay with that. But some people aren't, and that's just me.
I listened to one of your last pods, Rob, where you were talking about the Tennessee NIL debacle that's going on.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So I figure this might be a good time.
Let's do.
I want to hear your thoughts first, and then we can all kind of chime in on it. But Tennessee's had a very good quarterback with a very lucrative NIL deal. Apparently, it wasn't enough, and they sat in, had some meetings, and ultimately Tennessee said, "We're moving on without you." First, Rob, what are your thoughts on it? And then we'll all kind of chime in on it.
I will say kudos to Tennessee because I know you guys are familiar with this with Michigan, but Bryce Underwood's getting $12 million to come play at Michigan. Okay, fantastic, good for him. When Iamaleava signed to go to Tennessee, he was the richest NIL deal in the NCAA for football for an incoming freshman at $8 million. And he was set to make $2.4 million this year and apparently wanted 4.2. And I don't know any 20-year-olds at the University of Tennessee that are making $2.4 million and have a problem with it. So, and I heard somebody the other day, I don't remember who it was, said that he's probably the 6th or 8th best quarterback in the SEC. That doesn't sound like $4 million to me. You signed up for whatever deal you got, and you should have honored that. And here's my argument is if he's really good this year and Tennessee wins a national championship or goes far in the playoffs and he's a Heisman candidate, he's going to make 10 times that in the NFL, at least initially. So work your butt off, do that and get your money that way. But I don't know. I'm kind of anxious to hear what you guys think about that.
I pretty much same thought. I saw today a graphic with his 3 teams that he's heard the most from and seems interested in. I can't remember the third team, but one was UCLA, one was Tulane, and then there's a third team that's in that same ballpark of quality.
I was seeing rumblings of North Carolina.
Maybe North Carolina. Okay. North Carolina is interesting, with Belichick.
Yep.
Then again, who's really coaching, Belichick or the girlfriend? I don't know at this point.
Right.
So either way, even going to North Carolina, that's a massive step down, in my opinion, from Tennessee. I mean,
Yes.
they were in the playoff last year. He kind of lost his bargaining chip now that he's in the portal because he can't leverage his current offer anymore. Is he going to make more than he made at Tennessee? Who knows at this point? I think he's completely fumbled this situation, which is too bad because, I mean, it's too bad for Tennessee because they probably were planning on the guy, and it's too bad for him. I guess the whole thing has been his dad and a family friend is his agent.
Okay.
Get a professional. Like this has been so just bad business all around. So
Yes.
I wish that the NCAA would have a little bit more guardrails in place because trying to negotiate this, I don't know if this is true because it's Josh Pate, and I'm not sure about him, but he came out and said today that Nico was actually doing this before their playoff game.
I
but it
saw
just
Oh,
didn't
that.
come out.
fantastic.
Exactly. And then you watch that game and it's like, oh, did that affect the quality? Because Tennessee was terrible.
Yes.
Did not even give Ohio State a game. So, you know, you want it to be about ball. You don't want it to be about, did I make more money? And you made the point, he's not the best quarterback in the SEC. And a lot of people have pointed to big name transfers like Carson Beck to Miami, who people think maybe he's getting like $3 million, or Mensa to Duke, who maybe is getting around that same amount. And he's saying, well, I'm better than those guys. I don't know that you are, but
Right.
maybe just stop pocket watching other players and worry about yourself. I think the whole thing has just been so avoidable. Yeah, it's just bad all around, and good for Tennessee though. Yeah, I listened to what Coach Heupel said, his little presser he did, where he was very gracious with how he handled it, but also like he laid down the law, and I think that was a learning moment for a lot of players.
I hope
I
so.
don't. I don't say a lot of good things about SEC or SEC coaches, but I like Heupel.
I do
I
too.
did like the way he handled that. I gained a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, there's not much about the situation I like, but the entertainment factor of the rumor mills that's going around, like what you said, Bran. I heard that Dan Lanning might be the coach that kind of ratted him out, like told
Nice.
Heupel, "Hey, your quarterback's shopping around." I hope that's true.
Yeah.
That's
I do too.
crazy. And then I hope that the NCAA learns from this, maybe figures it out a bit more. I doubt. Yeah, that's the
No.
right face to make, because never the
Yes.
NCAA will never make the right decision. But as a Michigan fan, it does scare me a little bit, since we've got a quarterback making bank.
Yeah. If he has a good year, he's going to ask for more.
Yeah,
That's just how it works now.
thankfully
Well, just
we've got
call
a
it Dave Portnoy's got it. He's got it.
Yeah.
Dave Portnoy, and then that other billionaire who's got a girlfriend or wife
Yeah,
who went to Michigan.
Larry Ellison.
Yes.
They've got it. They've got a money train.
Thank goodness he married a Michigan alum.
Absolutely.
That's been huge. But yeah, it's disappointing for college football. I hope that this is a blip on the radar, but the NCAA just doesn't give me confidence that they'll figure this out. So this might be a
No.
domino. I hope that they're able to pluck that domino and stop the cascade that could come from it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I wouldn't put any faith in the competence of the NCAA, but hopefully the players can learn something from this, because I think, it's cool to see the players start to, get NIL, but it's just been such a wild, wild west type experience where now all of a sudden it has swung so wildly in the players' favor to where they can make these outrageous demands. And hopefully this will show some players like, you know what? You are not irreplaceable, and you can't just demand, hey, I want more than my $4 million or whatever. So good for Tennessee for making that stand. I don't have too much more to add on that. It is a bummer to see, but hopefully this will be something that shows players that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Stick to the commitment you made.
Well, Rob, we talked about your past sports, and now I know one of your passions now is golfing and watching golf. We just had the greatest golf event of the year conclude this weekend, the Masters. I listened to your pod about it, Rob, and you called the winner, which is very impressive.
I
So
did.
well done on that.
He tried to blow it multiple times.
Yeah.
Yep. Brandon had a good bet on Rory as well, and I was watching it knowing for Brandon, like, I hope he wins that. And he tried to lose it for sure.
Multiple times, yeah.
But in un-Rory-like fashion, he blew it and then made up for it, which I think most of America was pretty happy to see. What were your thoughts watching the Masters?
I love watching the Masters just in general. I had a rooting interest for Rory. I think he's kind of put the PGA Tour kind of on his back in the Live versus PGA Tour ongoing battle, or whatever you want to call it. He needed this one, just to. And when you're talking about only the sixth player to win the career Grand Slam, and you put your name in there with Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus and Ben Hogan and Gary Player and Gene Sarazen and those are the other guys, that's rarefied company to put yourself in. So now he looked like me on 13 when he chipped it into the water. I'm like, why are you even close to the water? That would be something where I would say, somebody, my playing partner would say, well, weren't you aiming left? Yeah, I was aiming left, and I hit it right. So what are you gonna do
Yep.
about it? Like, so I thought he played it way too close to the water, and somebody said, well, he wasn't trying to go in the water, and I said, well, neither am I. And it seems to find my ball. So I'm glad he won. I do kind of like Bryson DeChambeau too. I was kind of sad to see him kind of fall off yesterday. But I'm happy for Rory. I think it's good for the game for something like this.
Mhm.
To have a historic, not only historic event like the Masters, but to have a historic finish with him. And I'm glad he won it with a birdie, and Justin Rose didn't mess it all up and have to chip out from the woods, and he's scrambling to make bogey or something. I mean, he almost made a birdie too. So the fact that Rory won it, despite all the troubles that he had, it says a lot about him.
Yeah.
That was a perfect playoff hole to, like you were saying, where Rose chipped it, a great chip, like with a putt for a chance for birdie, and put the pressure on Rory, and he ate that pressure up and put it closer. And that was, I think, the perfect way for that to end after his bad 18, where he missed that putt to force the playoff. I think that was just a great finish. So I loved watching it. That was peak Sunday afternoon for me. Just laying on the couch, listening to the birds in Augusta, and it's such a nice day. You can fall. It's the only sporting event that I truly enjoy, that I also could maybe nap for a hole or two and find just as much enjoyment. Like, I don't want to miss it, but it's so peaceful and enjoyable. It's one of my favorite Sundays of the year.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful human moment watching Rory after he finally sunk that final putt, though. Just watching the years of stress and pressure melt off of his shoulders, knowing that he finally got the career Grand Slam after so many attempts. What was it, 11 attempts to get the Grand Slam? And it's just so funny that if he misses that putt and loses, you have people that are going to be talking about, like, yeah, Rory's washed. And now he makes that putt, and he's in the conversation of one of the all-time greats, one of 6 players to get the career Grand Slam. So just to see his reaction through all that, how emotional he was, especially in an era of athletes who are sometimes full of themselves, chasing a bag, caring about the persona so much, to see somebody who just truly, it meant everything to him to finally get that win. I don't care who your favorite golfer is. That was something that was just so fun to watch.
It was a beautiful human moment that has immediately been made a meme.
Oh, no.
I've seen people post him, crying, taking his hat off, and it's me when I get my kids to sleep. Or and it's like me after Michigan beats Ohio State. And it's like, I love it. I don't know about you guys. When I watch the Masters, I am the worst golfer of anyone in this pod. I watch the Masters. I'm like, I gotta go golfing. I gotta get out there. And not only that, but being a bad golfer, Rory's absolute meltdowns. To then, the thing about me being a bad golfer is also sometimes I make incredible shots, which makes golf really frustrating because sometimes I can just pipe my drive like 300 yards down the middle, and then I'll slice like 6 in a row after that. And I couldn't believe that Rory found a way to melt down so many times. I think they said no one has ever won a Masters with 4 double bogeys, and he broke that trend. And when he double bogeyed the first hole, I was like, "Oh, it's done, it's over." And not only did he double bogey that hole, he double bogeyed one later and still won. I was just, as a really let's just say hot and cold golfer, I found that very encouraging. So thank you, Rory. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to suck really bad, but then I'm going to have a couple good shots and be like, got to keep coming out.
That's what keeps you coming back.
Yeah, that's true. I'm a historically bad sports bettor, Rob. Flip opposite of Brandon, who's very good. As soon as Rory double bogeyed on hole 1, I was like, Bryson, and I put a bet on Bryson to win. And as soon as that bet happened, Bryson, I don't think birdied again the rest of the day.
No, he was on the struggle bus.
So Rory, you're welcome. I might take some credit for that. Rob, you played baseball, basketball. Now you play golf a lot. And one of the storylines with this Masters, I was listening to Bill Simmons pod today, and they were talking about just the mental fortitude it takes to get through an event like that, to be like the top. And they were saying there's probably so many golfers who are so good but can't mentally get there. They couldn't overcome these things to win it all. You've played all these sports. Is there anything that compares? Maybe pitching. I think pitching might be similar because you're kind of on your own on the mound, but golf, the mental game of that is
Yeah, it's such a mental, and especially when you play it the way I play it. There's a lot of ups and downs on the golf course. Trust me. I don't know that I can equate it to, because obviously, it's nice to pitch in high school and whatever and have success, but to be on that stage at Augusta, all the you guys said it right. I think just all that emotion just came off of him. I think he just wanted it so bad, and you could see it on the putt that he missed that on 18 that they had to go to the playoff. He probably makes that putt 25 out of 30, 40 times, 25 out of 30 times. But when it's the Masters and you have to make it, and you're the only one standing there with the putter in your hand, it's got to be really, really hard. Um, I don't know. Like I said, I can't compare it to anything I've ever done, at that level. But man, I did make some free throws in the MAC semifinals one time. That was, I don't know if it was, the chanting or it was my knees knocking at the free throw line, but it was, it's, that's the only thing I can equate to it is you're standing there at the free throw line by yourself, game on the line. You got to make free throw. And like I said, that was in the MAC tournament at Gund Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. Not on the 18th hole at Augusta, to win your 6th Grand Slam and last one. I don't know that I can equate how much pressure that is.
Yeah, Brian, you're talking about memes. I keep seeing the image that they put up, the graphic for career Grand Slam, like to make this putt. And it's like, you've seen like the Stadium Pulse like memes where it shows like people put that up in the corner when they're like talking to a girl or something like that. That is like the Stadium Pulse meme to the max. Like, make this putt to get your career Grand Slam. I just can't even comprehend that level of pressure.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be built for it because watching it, I was ready to retire for Rory. Like the fourth or fifth time he fell apart, I was like, dude, just go be rich on a boat. Like, it's not worth it, man. And then he won. It's like, oh, it's worth it,
And now we want him to win the PGA and the US Open.
Right. No pressure on him now.
Brandon tweeted it earlier, I think, perfectly, that Rory encapsulates golf perfectly. Just the highs and lows, and you want to quit, like he just said, and then you hit something, you win, and it brings you right back, and you want to go out and golf again. He's just
I felt bad for him I felt bad for him after he ended up tied with Justin Rose after 16, and then he hit that amazing shot on 17 to about 2 feet, and you're like, oh, he's going to win, and he's going to lose in a playoff. And then, he won. It's like, I was exhausted watching the Masters.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I feel bad for Justin Rose, too. That's his second Masters playoff defeat as well. Oh. So as soon as that popped up, that they were playing each other, I was like, well, you're going to be a little bit sad no matter what happens here. But was glad to see that he could finally overcome his demons there and get the Masters dub.
Well, Rob, the next thing I was thinking about talking with you is the NBA playoffs are here. The play-in games start this week, and then the real playoffs start this coming weekend. Do you have an NBA team you cheer for? Are you a Pacers guy?
Growing up, I was a Bulls guy, like a lot of people were because of Michael Jordan. And while I've got this, LeBron James is not Michael Jordan, so I put that out there. Not that LeBron James isn't great. He's one of the greatest of all time. He's just not Michael Jordan. So I was a Bulls fan, so I kind of still root for the Bulls a little bit. But being here close to Indianapolis, you got to go with the Pacers. And, they kind of put together a little Cinderella run last year. And they just had a couple bad breaks against the Celtics. The Celtics were better than the Pacers. I don't think that they were going to win that, but I do kind of I like the Pacers. It's going to be interesting because in both conferences, and I think Oklahoma City is probably the best team in the league. I'm not 100% sold on Cleveland. So with the Pacers getting that 4 seed, if they can get through Giannis and the Bucks, which I think they can, I actually kind of like the Pacers against the Cavaliers. I'm not sold on the Cavaliers yet, and until somebody beats Boston in the East, I still don't think it matters who has home court advantage. I like the Celtics, but and then out west, I mean, you got potential. I think the Lakers are probably the happiest team in the league that the Warriors didn't get the 6 seed and they got the 7 seed. So, they don't have to play them in the first round, but a second round matchup with like the Warriors and the Lakers, that the NBA's got to be drooling over that.
Yep.
Seriously.
So I still think Oklahoma City's going to be tough to beat with home court advantage, but as much as it pains me, the Lakers they're going to be tough to beat too.
Mhm.
I saw a stat today that it was making the argument for Oklahoma City having the most dominant season ever, and they the reasons for it were they didn't have the most wins ever, but there were 29. Is everyone frozen?
No.
I'm good.
I'm not.
Oh,
Just keep
no,
speaking.
We're just enthralled with what you've got to say.
No one was moving. I was like, oh no, I lost you. But yeah, they lost 1 game to the Eastern Conference this year, which is nuts. They had the most double-digit wins of any team maybe ever, and then they were in first place by 16 games in the Western Conference. Just insane stats. They're young, and anything can happen in the playoffs. I don't like. There's a weird part of me that's not confident in them still, just because it's the NBA playoffs and they're young. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is crazy. He plays that style of basketball that I hate.
Yep.
Where he'll draw the foul anytime, anywhere. But he's so stinking good.
Yeah.
But Rob, you're talking to a bunch of Pistons fans here who are just happy to be in the playoffs. But I don't know if we're just happy to be in the playoffs.
What a
I think-
run, though! You didn't just squeak in. You guys are in.
Yeah, made it without the play-in, and we don't have to face the Pacers, who I think are one of the hottest teams in that 4 through 6 stretch.
Now the Pistons play the Knicks, right? Is that right?
Yeah, play the Knicks. We
I'm
talked
not
about
sold
this.
on the Knicks.
I'm not either, but Brandon said it well in our last pod. You hate to play against a market like the Knicks, where
Sure,
you know
sure.
Jalen Brunson's going to get the calls. He already plays that style of basketball.
Yep. He's the poster child for that style of basketball.
Yes, he is.
The
Let me throw my
Pistons
head
played.
back.
They played the Knicks just this week, like the third to last game of the season, and I was just already like, man, this series is going to be so painful because I think the Pistons have a really good chance, but I hate the way Jalen Brunson plays. He's so good.
Yeah.
And
It's
Karl
good.
Anthony Towns the same way, where like they've got some talent. One of my favorite things about Karl Anthony Towns is the highlights I see about when he thinks he got a foul when he drives, and
Yes.
his voice just, oh my god! I find it really entertaining. But I think they have a good shot. But the thing I want the most out of this playoffs is I want the Pistons to play the Pacers. That rivalry was awesome. It culminated in the Malice in the Palace, and then it kind of died down. And then I went to the Pistons-Pacers game here in Indianapolis earlier this year. The Pacers hate the Pistons. They hate Isaiah
Yes, they do.
Stewart, and it was electric. I want that in a playoff series. I think it would be so fun. The Pacers scare me, but man, would that be an electric series?
I like the Pistons. I think they've gotten to where they are faster than I think most people thought they would get there.
Well, that's because we had a terrorist as our head coach last year.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna get kicked off on the first on this.
Yeah, he was such a failure. Jamie Bickerstaff, I've loved though. He is great. And again, the Pacers fans hate him too. It's fantastic.
It's the Pacers, that era of, obviously what happened at the Palace with all our Pacer guys racing up to beat Joe Schmo in the stands. Had that not happened, I would have loved to have seen that playoff series,
Oh
because that was
yeah.
going to be the Eastern Conference Finals, was that Pacers team and that Pistons team, and that may have ended in some like assault charges.
Yeah, someone might have died in that one.
They might have. This was back in the day. This was even after the Pacers, when they tried to take on the Jordan and the Bulls with the Davis brothers, and those guys. When you came in the lane, you were worried about losing your head, and I kind of missed that basketball a little bit. That was the one thing that drove me nuts about the what they do now at the NCAA level, is all the stinking replays, and the flagrant. It's like nobody's going out trying to hit people in the face, like now Dale Davis was, and Rick Mahorn was back in the day, but they've changed the game. I still think my favorite highlight of all time is Bill Lambier pulling down Larry Bird from behind, and Larry Bird just wailing on him on the ground, and then he gets the ball and throws it at Rodman, and it's like, this is great. This is great.
Pure entertainment.
They may not even got ejected back then.
Yeah, true. It was a tougher time for sure. We've been getting more and more into hockey. Shout out Western Michigan Broncos winning the NCAA championship. But the toughness in hockey, like, why can't we have some of that in some of these other sports where, like, the NBA, if you want to push around a little bit, like, maybe you get a one punch rule.
You get it one per series. One per series.
But yeah, it's getting a little soft. But at the same time, I'm pretty excited for these NBA playoffs. There's a lot of pretty fun matchups. Just having our team in it again. There's nothing like having your favorite team make the playoffs. As Detroit fans growing up, we've had some pretty sparse years in almost every sport we cheer for. And we're kind of in the glory days right now, except for the Red Wings, with at least playoff stuff. So I'm excited for it.
See, speaking of hockey, I did see today, I think they said it's the first time ever that the 6 original American teams from the NHL are not in the playoffs.
Wow.
I didn't know who those all were. I know there's the Blackhawks, the Red Wings. Is it the Flyers? I don't know who all the originals were. St. Louis, maybe?
I don't know if I could name the original 6. It's a bad hockey. Being a Detroit Red Wings fan, we should be able to, but
Maple Leafs.
Well, I'm a New Jersey Devils is who I'm.
Montreal,
that's my team.
Boston, Detroit, New York, and Chicago.
Okay.
We did all right on that, though.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Well, Rob, while we have you, is there anything else you want to talk about? I know it's getting a little late, but it's a great time. We're super happy to have you here. We want to pick your brain as much as possible while we got you.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. This has been a blast. Like I said, I enjoy watching you guys, and I'll come on anytime you want, as long as you'll have me. So this is fun. I could talk sports with people for all day long. So I appreciate you guys.
When Rob and I worked together in the past, there was a lot of times when we'd sit and just talk sports. So I miss those days. So this is nice, kind of.
I do. We did wash cars. I promise we did wash some cars. But yeah, I enjoyed when Travis would come and visit. It was a lot of sports.
Well, I guess it's about that time that we ask you boys what you've been jonesing for lately. What's on the mind that you just got a hankering for?
Well, I texted you guys that we might have to start moving podcast dates around because I got back into slow pitch softball.
Nice.
Had practice tonight. I am so washed. So you get up the first time you hit, did pretty good. No home runs, but base hits. Pretty much, no swing and miss. That was the goal.
Okay.
But then you got to go out there and shag everyone else's balls. And I'm running around. I haven't ran around much. By the time I got up for my second at bat, I was gassed. And you don't think like swinging a bat takes much. It doesn't. Second at bat, I was like, oh boy, I'm hitting grounders. I'm hitting fly balls. It's like, just get me out of here. Just take me out, coach. So I got to start getting in shape. But it was fun. Got to work out the rust a bit. So I told you guys I'm starting to Jones for some softball and scratch that itch tonight. So
The big
Love it.
question for after that is, are your Achilles still attached?
the Achilles are doing good, but I'll tell you what, some of those sprinting for fly balls, I felt it in the hamstrings. Nothing,
you gotta be careful.
nothing popped.
Okay.
So I think I'll be okay tomorrow, but I'll probably feel it a little bit.
You got to watch for those hamstrings. The last time I played slow pitch softball, I hit what I thought was a double, and I stepped on first base, second step towards second base. It just went pop. I fell to the ground and just crawled back to first base.
Pinch runner.
I can't do anything. And
Pinch runner.
I hopped off the field into the other team's dugout and just sat on their bench. So
Oh, no.
I don't know if I can get back over to our bench. So, Brad, that's my cautionary tale. Stretch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did almost zero stretching. I did not warm up because I was late.
Can't be
I
doing
just
that
ran
anymore.
out there. I was like, all right, body, take over. Like muscle
Mhm.
memory, right? No.
Seeing the hammies go on far too many people our age, specifically in church softball. So you really gotta be careful with that.
The thing I've been jonesing for lately is the Century Club in Papa Shot. So I'll elaborate a little bit. Last
please
week,
do.
I was watching the Papa Shot National Championships on ESPN The Ocho. And I was
course you
watching
were.
these guys.
You're a sicko.
I was watching it. And you watch most sports, and you're like, I can't do that. But you watch this, you go, maybe. And so at my warehouse, at my job, we have a Papa Shot. And so every once in a while, I'll go in there, put up some shots. It's my new goal is to join the Century Club. Because if you join the Century Club, you just had to send a picture of your score to Papa Shot. They'll send you a letter of invitation to the Century Club and a sticker for the Century Club. So I just got to score 100. And then my next goal is to crack the top 10 because they post a monthly top 10 and an overall score of top 10. I just got to score 145 to crack the top 10 for April, May. I can't remember.
What's your top score now?
I think I hit 100 a while back in the warehouse. Today, my top score was 80.
Okay.
But I'm thinking about
Getting worse.
documenting the journey, maybe posting the videos on
I
our
would love
Jonesing
that.
for Sports TikTok.
Nice.
So every day I'm going to, at break or at lunch, I'm going to go into the warehouse, put some shots up, see if I can hit 100. Although today I did it about 15 minutes before noon. I was like, I'll just take my lunch now. We have a conference room on the other side of the Papa Shot wall.
Oh no.
And this guy comes out ticked. He's like, dude, I'm trying to take a test in here. I was like, I'm so sorry. I know this is a place of work. That
That's
almost
fantastic.
deterred me from the goal, but I'm determined.
When you've got
Century
somebody taking a test in there, you just have to go to Globo Gym.
There we go. I like it.
The one I saw on the Ocho that was like, yeah, I could totally do that. Like I was born for this. You ever see where they throw a football up on the roof of a house and you just have to stand under the gutter and catch the football?
It's amazing.
It's like that's what you do just growing up as a kid. Like
Yeah.
I would run the table with that.
You get a point for catching it, like a point or two if it goes around the little chimney, and then you lose points if it goes over the roof. Like it's a fantastic backyard game.
Mm-hmm.
That's like nothing. I mean, we used to jump off the roof and then catch the football on the way into the pool. So I feel like we would have been pros.
You guys were just way ahead of your time on that.
Yeah,
Or just dumb.
Yeah, pretty
it's
dumb.
a mix of
actually.
both.
Jumping over probably like 6 feet of concrete on the way there.
Yeah,
so.
it could have ended very poorly.
But it
Gave
didn't.
Mom quite a few gray hairs from that one. I am currently fasting. So
Oh,
right
that
now
sucks.
I'm jonesing for a steak quesadilla from Taco Bell.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What's your goal? How many days? Like how long?
This is going to be a 3-day fast.
Oh my gosh.
Nice,
I
dude.
did it. When was it? Like September 2024? Wasn't that long ago. There's some good health benefits from it. It's a good practice and discipline too, but also like trying to get ready for summer, and I'm just getting heavier and heavier. So this will be a good springboard for that. The first like day is really not that bad. You have random like sugar cravings, but then it's like that's fine. Day 2, I remember, was just pain. And then day 3, I didn't feel pain anymore, but I was just a zombie and I had
Mhm.
no energy. And when I finally ate food, it was like my stomach had a vacuum that just sucked down food. I didn't even process that I was eating. It was just filling the void. So it's not fun, but I don't know. It is a good discipline. So, but right now, I was door dashing today actually,
Oh
and
no.
Oh.
so I was smelling all the foods, and yeah, that was a little bit torturous. But
I did a 3-day fast like a month ago, and same, like it got easier as you go. But I thought about doing one today, and then lunchtime hit, and I was like, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I, I ate a sandwich.
The ability to do 3 days without eating, that's like you're speaking another language to me.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
today I was like, I'll be healthy. For dinner, I'm gonna make chicken salad. But you know what? I'm having pizza for lunch. Like, because I was hungry and it sounded good. Man, I respect your discipline because I do not have it.
well, it's a I don't know. It's, I guess, a journey because I wasn't always like this. I remember one time I was in college and Trav wanted me to do a 3-day fast. I don't remember, Trav, if you did the whole 3 days, but I don't think I even made it a full 24 hours before I started dry heaving and I immediately ate 2 bowls of Cocoa Pebbles. That's how my first 3-day fast ended. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it
I
wasn't
did.
always like this.
I did it the early days of the car wash days, Rob, in Warsaw, Indiana. We had one of our like annual celebrations or customer appreciation days, and we had a radio station come out. And I was in the midst of a 3-day fast when I was supposed to talk, like do this big event at the car wash and do a little radio spot. And so I broke the fast on that day. I was like, there's
Well,
no
yeah.
way I can go on the radio with no food in my body for 3 days. Who knows what I'm going to say?
No, that's hangry right there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was a little worried about that one. Rob, before we go, you jonesing for anything in life particularly right now?
At this moment, I'm jonesing for Atlanta Braves victories.
Mm.
Yeah.
When you're being compared to the White Sox, that's a bad start to the season. I did in the background see here they beat the Blue Jays tonight, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. But no, it's been a rough start to the season for the Braves. So I'll be, and I'm jonesing for Spencer Strider to come back on Wednesday. So he's making his season debut. So I'm optimistic that once he gets back, that will help the Braves in their pursuit of 500.
I was reading an athletic article on power rankings of baseball teams. They were still pretty high on the Braves. They had them pretty high, even though their record's like 5-11 now, I think.
5-11.
Yeah.
They're on a 1-game winning streak, so it's really good.
Well, Rob, before we go, tell us a little bit about your podcast, where we can listen to it, and yeah.
Yeah, the podcast is Rob Robbins is Indefensible on Spotify. I started it basically just as an outlet to get some of my thoughts out there. I've always kind of wanted to do it, so it was just kind of a unique thing for me to just get my thoughts out there. And if anybody listens, cool. If not, that's okay. Um, I've enjoyed doing it. I've got maybe 10 episodes or so in. I kind of just do it when the moment hits, when I've got an idea. So I really appreciate you guys having me on. You guys, I've learned a lot just sitting here chatting with you guys tonight. So hopefully we'll do it again. I'll be excited to be back on your show, and I hope you guys you're more than welcome on my show anytime. So it flows. When you're having conversations, it's so much easier to to talk and see everybody's reaction. So you got now. I got to be careful who I put on here. I got family that wants to get on here, but I'm a little nervous to put some of these folks on here.
Well, you might have to extend the length of your pods a little bit if you have us on there. You know, we try and stick to your like 15-minute mark, but you know, we miss that by a few minutes every now and then. So
no, that's good. My 15 minutes is gonna. I need to go a little bit longer, but sometimes people get annoyed just by seeing me my ugly face on there. So
no,
I need help.
Hey, it's
No,
just one of you. You got 3 ugly faces in ours typically. So
no, I actually love that length though. It's so digestible, and just if people want to know what's going on, what's Rob thinking, you can get that so easily. Whereas
I appreciate it.
You know, with ours, sometimes like, do I listen to a pod? Am I going to be invested for an hour and 15 minutes?
What the heck are those guys talking about?
What could they possibly be talking about? Then you tune in, we're talking about Cocoa Pebbles and Marvel and anything but sports. So
and again, Ultron, is very underrated. So
right, exactly.
Yeah, and his love language. It's great.
Right.
But no, yeah, it's been a blast to have you on the pod. Really some great content here. And I was also just telling these guys, Rob Robbins is Indefensible. That's a great name too. It sounds like it comes straight from ESPN. I thought it was one of those shows that they had on there. But yeah, guys, check out Rob's pod, and we'll have to have you on the pod sometime soon as well, because this has been a great time.
I'll even talk Michigan stuff. Whatever.
Whatever.
It's mighty big of you there. I think that's about all the time that we have. So check out Rob's pod. Also hop in the Discord. Give us a mailbag question. We haven't had one of those in a minute. We love talking with you guys, and we love having the chance just to be your local Michigan content. So thank you once again for joining us on another episode of the Jonesing for Sports podcast. Thank you again to Rob Robbins for joining us on a fantastic episode, and we will catch you guys all in the next one. Keep it classy.